Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So sorry for the inconvenience. So we are going to begin the session now. So this morning we have with us Kalim Mohammad sir. He is currently working in Bank of America. So our speaker is an ex-employee of EIQ Networks. Our speaker, he is leading the security governance team handling exceptions against security policy. He's certified ethical hacker. So this gonna sounds gonna be so fun. And he has completed his Bachelor of Engineering at Geetam University. He was awarded as the feather in my cap by Wipro Technologies in 2014. That proves that one thing, it is not necessary where you graduate from. What matters is
Hi Asutosh, am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you're clearly audible. Welcome, sir.
Welcome.
Pragati?
Pavitra, I think we cannot hear you.
am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, now.
Thank you. So it doesn't matter where you graduate from. What matters is what you are good at. We can say that one man with many talents. So are you interested in cybersecurity? So a speaker can be a good person to tackle your all doubts. So this session is for you all. So all the photos, spam up the chat box and send up your little thumbs. So join me in welcoming Kalim Mohammad sir.
Thank you, Pavitra. Lovely to be here. Good morning, all.
Sir, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Uh, in fact, I'll start with a story which happened in 2010. Uh, I was working for TCS then. I was a campus hire. I was just out of college, and uh, like generally the way IT companies work, they once you are a campus hire, they don't hire you for a specific role, and most of the IT companies do this. So they, based on the project requirement, they fit you where they feel that you are the best fit. So so when I joined, I was told to move to a project. I was working for a US based client, and I was given a role of desktop engineer, and basically a desktop support engineer where I had to take a call, had to take calls, resolve the issues, and I was frankly not very happy with that job. I wanted a more a technical software related job, and at that time, to be very honest, I didn't know what cybersecurity industry and information security industry was. That at that time, there was not even a word about cybersecurity. Only information security was used, and even when we were talking about information security, not many people knew about it. It was not a hacking was not a buzzword at that time. Now everyone knows about it. Everyone talks about it. So I went to the resource manager, and I was you can not many people do that. Generally, freshers are afraid. They don't go to senior people. But I thought, what's the harm in talking? So I went there. I told him he was a very busy guy, but fortunately he gave me time. I told him I'm not happy with the project assigned to me. More than project, I'm not happy with the work assigned to me. So we can actually look for a more technical related role. That would be really helpful to me. So he took couple of days and then assigned me to a project, and I was told to meet the project manager next day. I asked more details. He told you go and meet him. He is the better person to give you the details. So I went with a very open mind. I was not aware what that role is about. Went there, talked to the project manager, and he told me that we are supporting a client, and we basically I handle a team called a Security Operations Center, which is in short, it is called as a SOC team, SOC. So I was very surprised. I never heard about SOC before, and uh, I didn't know what to do at that point of time because I asked him, "Can you tell me more about it? And can you maybe I can sit with someone in your team and shadow them maybe for a day or two, and then take my call?" But he told me, "No, you decide now. It's your call. It's fine if you don't want to take it up, but this is what it is." And thought, okay, let me take a jump and see where it goes. I did that, and I before even taking the call, I asked him 30 minutes for making my decision. He was fine with it. I called various people. I called my seniors. I called my even relatives, and almost I'll say 95% of people told me don't take it up. Like this IT service industry, cybersecurity was classified under that at that time. They told me it's not a good industry to be. There would be late working hours and it would be very hectic. You should go for a software engineer job, which is more of a 9 to 6 job. Which is better for your work life balance. But I was not very interested in coding things. Many people were running towards that. Probably I was an aberration. I wanted to take a different path. So I took a leap. Yeah, it was a rotational job. I had to work in night shifts as well. But once I actually started getting into it, I understood what we are actually trying to achieve and what we are trying to protect the organization. I was really happy with the work. Even though it was hectic, it was rotational, but from there my journey actually started. That was my first taste of information security industry, now called as cyber security industry. And I still remember that time I was traveling in a flight from one place to another, and someone was sitting next to me. We just had a general discussion, and the person next to me, he was an NRI. He was coming from Dubai. He asked me, uh, like, what do you do? I told him I work at TCS. So he told me, what do you do? So instead of telling him I work for a security operations center or a SOC team, I had to tell him that I do log monitoring. I protect company against attacks. So and because majority of the people I met and I spoke to, they assume when I say I work in information security, they thought maybe I'm working more towards physical security. That was their impression initially. Right now, everyone understands about it. So at that time, so when I told him, he himself told, so you work for SOC. I was really excited and happy. That was like, okay, I found at least someone who is able to speak my language. But now the things are very different. Anyway, that's my first taste, and with that I started as a level one security operations center analyst. When I gained more experience, I started taking more additional responsibility, building use cases, moving more towards the administration side, and overall looking security as a picture. And then as I grew in my career, I handled the SOC team as well. I was a SOC architect at one point of time, where I had to build SOC from the scratch at EIQ Networks. At Bank of America, it was a mixed role where it was part of SOC and security governance. So again, overall, if I have to just summarize my career, maybe uh, in a line, I'll say very exciting journey. At times, it has been very hectic, but overall, I've always been a defensive guy. SOC is a defensive side of the cybersecurity. We have side where you see a lot of buzzword about hacking. So, but I've always been towards the opposite side of hacking, where I've actually protected the organizations.
That's great, sir. Actually, cybersecurity is kind of demanding right now.
Yep.
So can we begin with the questions part, sir?
Sure.
So our first question is, how much does Linux matter in cybersecurity and why?
Uh, See, Linux matter, but I'll not say you need to be an expert. You don't need to be at a level like where you are actually doing administration until unless you are working specifically to protect Linux systems. So if you're just doing that, it's a very specific role, and Linux is mostly used if you are on the offensive side. Like you would have heard about a very famous operating system called as Kali Linux, which is a uh, which is basically used by hackers and a lot of security professionals as well. And so at that time, when we're working with it, you should know to run basic Linux commands. You don't need to know in and out of everything. If you know it, it's good. But again, I'll say you don't need to be an expert. Some level of proficiency, even if you are at medium level, that still should be good. If I have to talk about my journey, I've not used Linux much. Yeah, but I do know Linux. It's not that I don't know it. I do know Linux. I know how it works, and I also know like commands. If I need to actually get dirty, if I have to get to the business end and run some commands, I can do that.
Yes, sir. And the second question is, what role will networking play in future of service cyber security?
A very important role in this current age. We cannot avoid networking. So if you want to be a good security professional, it's very important that you understand networking well. Whatever domain of cybersecurity you may be working at, you may be working on a very specific domain like a cloud security, or you may be working at, or you may be working on application security, which basically you may be doing code reviews, but still understanding networking is a very important part if you want to be a good cybersecurity professional. So keep that in mind. Without at least I'm not saying again, just like Linux, you don't need to be a network administrator. You don't need to know a network architect in and out, but at least you should know as a security professional basic subnetting, understanding of IP addresses, understanding of well-known ports and protocols, and understanding about common network security devices like the firewall, gateways, routers, UTMs. You should know that. I think again, a medium level of proficiency in networking is very, very important, more than Linux.
Yes, sir. And how much does cloud matter, and how to get cloud experience?
Cloud is again a very important part, as most of the organizations have moved in cloud. The organization is still not moved in cloud. Just they're about to move. So it was a niche technology maybe a 4 or 5 years back, but now every organization are in the cloud. They may be using different flavors of it. They may be using different vendors. They may be on Google Cloud platform. They may be on the Amazon Web Services. They may be on Microsoft Azure. By the way, Azure and AWS is the most common cloud platform being used by the industry. Uh, so, so, so that's the first part of the question. Very important part. You should know cloud. But remember, if you want to gain cloud knowledge, both Microsoft Azure and Amazon AWS gives you free account. If you can create free account, again there is limitations with that. So you can create free account. There are very good videos and documentation which you can read on their website. Excuse me. So so if you want to build competency on cloud, if you want to secure cloud, first you should know cloud. So for that, I'll advise you either build either like have an account on Microsoft Azure or have an account on Amazon AWS and watch their videos, watch their documentation. A lot of free videos about them on YouTube as well, and then you build that competency. You can practice it. As I said, there are limitations, but they still give you uh, fair amount of resources to practice. So you can practice it, and then slowly and both Amazon AWS and Microsoft Azure offer a lot of free certifications as well, basic level certifications, not the advanced one. So at this level, even if the basic level certifications will help you, So free training as well as free certifications are given. So I'll advise you to go through that. Uh, and and then if you're really interested, you just pick one. You cannot be expert of both at one point of time. So either pick AWS or Azure, and then go to the next level there. So there are tons of certifications which you can have a look on their website.
Yes, sir. Sir, what do you look for when you are hiring a fresher as a security professional?
See, more than knowledge, if I'm hiring a fresher, I focus on attitude, right? Because this industry is constantly changing. A threat landscape is changing on daily basis. There are new threats. We hear about a hack almost every day, and we hear about new vulnerabilities. Somewhere, something is detected. So, if you are not a learner, if you don't have an attitude to learn, if you don't have an attitude to upgrade, you don't have an attitude to upskill, then it will be a big struggle in this industry. You may have 20 years of experience, you still have to learn and unlearn as well. Unlearning is also an important part, but learning is a very important part of this industry. I've spent more than 12 years in this industry now, but still I hear a lot of things which are very new. And I have to research on them, I have to talk to people to gain that understanding. So when also I would like to add here, when someone quotes that he or she is a cybersecurity expert, you cannot be a cybersecurity expert. You can be an expert in a domain, you can be an application security expert, you can be a network security expert, you can be an expert on defensive security, or you can become an expert on, or you can be an offensive security expert, but you cannot be an overall cybersecurity expert. So keep that in mind. That's a word a lot of people use, but I don't think that's the right jargon to use. You have to be specific. So it's important that you pick your path and try to be an expert on that.
Yes, sir. Sir, how much does the experience impact the pay scale, for instance, paid for freshers versus a bit of experience one?
So so are you talking about the pay difference or
Yes, sir.
like?
Like for fresher and experienced one.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, for freshers and experience, the pay difference is there. And again, it depends on the skill and it depends on various factors. Let me come to that one by one. Whether you're going, which company you're going to, that matters. Again, in company also, whether you're going to a service industry or you're going to a product industry, a product-based company, or you're going to maybe a startup. So all these matters. First, the company matters. Second, the role matters. And like if you have a skill which very few people have in market. So even as a fresher, you may draw more money than an experienced person, right? So and if I have to really talk about hot market currently, the cloud security market is very hot. You will be paid really well if you're a cloud if you're in cloud. Red teaming market, which is basically the offensive side. Again, that ethical hacking and a lot of other things. Red teaming is much more than ethical hacking. But to just keep the discussion short, red team. If you become a red teaming expert, that matters as well. But if in general sense, the pay there is definitely a pay difference. If even if you take the same organization in criteria in consideration, if as a fresher and between difference between a fresher and an experiencer, definitely experience matters a lot. So the experienced people are paid higher.
Yes, sir. What is your advice when creating a security resume?
See, and not only this whatever I'm speaking right now, not only this is true for security resume, but it is true for any resume. Uh, your first impression matters. When I say first impression, what you have put right on the top few lines or few paragraphs, the half a page of your resume, first half page really matters. A lot of people do a mistake of putting a lot of technical things there. They put a lot of I've worked on this tool, that tool. Nobody has time to go through the number of tools you have worked immediately when they see your resume. You can have that in the mid segment or at the bottom of your resume, that's fine. But have a very well documented without any grammatical mistakes, and also fonts are important. Don't use common fonts. I've seen few people writing maybe when they're defining their experience, that's in a form which is like an Arial 10, and when they're writing about their summary, it's in Arial 12. Don't make that mistake. It has to be uniform. The font matters, and what font you are using, because if the font is uniform, it looks good. So keep that in mind, and no grammatical mistakes. Go through your resume 3 times, 4 times. There are a lot of automated tools nowadays you find on internet for free, which will tell if you make any grammatical mistakes, and also they tell you the common resume formats as well. Make sure your resume is in the common current format, which is well respected in industry, as well as no grammatical mistakes and no font mistakes as well. So if you keep that in mind, and at the start, make sure you have a well documented summary about your career. Even if you're a fresher, write why you want to be in this industry. Why are you passionate about this industry? So write some reasons for that. So it should be attracting, right? If I see a resume and everyone is having the same format, and because I've done that as well in college. We copy resumes from each other. So don't do that. Have a proper format, and summarize. Initially, first 5 pages first half page should contain your name, your email address, and your contact details, as well as summary of what you have done so far. If you are a fresher, why you want to come in, and like it should sound interesting to the hiring manager. So make sure if you're doing that, people would be interested to go down. Otherwise, nobody. If you write a lot of technical jargons at the start, the likelihood is higher that your resume will be rejected.
Yes, being unique is necessary.
Yep.
And which languages do you advise to learn at the bare minimum?
Nowadays, scripting languages are in demand. Especially if I have to be very specific, I'll talk about Python. And if you can become an expert in Python even before entering cybersecurity industry, that will be a very good skill to have. A lot of places in cybersecurity we use Python, especially for automations. So Python is definitely one scripting language I'll advise you to learn, and at least have some basic competency there if you're not an expert.
Yes, sir. Sir, will networking administration experience add an extra advantage in getting a security job?
I think I've already answered a bit of this. Yeah,
Yes.
networking plays a very important part. Administration, if you have administration level experience, that is that is very good. Even if you don't have, but at least that basic competency which I talked about, you should have that to be a good cybersecurity professional. Yeah, but if you have network administration experience or even knowledge, that would be a big help.
Yes, sir. So, what is the scope of DevSecOps in the near future?
DevSecOps plays a very important part, because nowadays we talk about quick delivery, right? If we go back 10 years back, if you're building something, if you're building a software, generally the time taken, if you're building a small or a medium sized software to cater needs for few, it will take around 6 months. For a larger project, it may take years or at least a year. So, but with DevSecOps, where development, security, and operations teams combining together, that's where the name comes: DevSecOps, development, security, and operations. So, DevSecOps plays a very important part, and since all the team is working together, there are two major advantages. One, whatever you deliver immediately, and it's delivered at a very high rate. The waiting time is very low. Second, and a very important part is the security is incorporated right from the start. You don't want to build a product and then incorporate security. If you do that, you are in trouble, and that's where the DevSecOps actually originated. They wanted to have security right from the start. If you go back to 90s era and early 2000 era, at that time, functionality, or whatever products were coming out, whatever softwares were coming out, the focus was on functionality. But now the focus is on functionality as well as security. You cannot have an insecure product. Your product may be best in the market, but if it is insecure, it will not work. Ultimately, someone will do something, a news will come out, and you'll lose your complete business. So DevSecOps plays a very important part. Just to summarize, it helps you to uh, deliver things at a very high rate, and you can deliver things very quickly. Second, whatever product is coming out is generally very secure.
Yes, sir. Another question is, does Active Directory matter only in a contested role or it has some greater usage?
The Active Directory matters everywhere within cyber industry because Active Directory has become a de facto industry standard. Almost, I have not worked for any organizations or have handled a lot of clients as well. I've spoken to them. I've set up but set up their SOC teams as well. So what I've seen is I've not seen a single company in my experience who is not using Active Directory. So it's a de facto standard. So whether you're in pen testing, whether you are in any other role, doesn't matter. Active Directory is there and it will be there to stay because Windows provide a lot of automations through that. I don't want to get into technical discussions, but just to keep it short and sweet, yes, Active Directory definitely matters in whatever cyber domain you are in. So but if you can get that Active Directory skills, or at least or at least you understand how Active Directory works, it will be very helpful.
Yes, sir. Sir, do I need to learn DSA even if I'm in the security field?
So DSA, we are talking about data structures, or we are talking about there are some other like DSA is used in other
Yeah,
industries as well.
data structure and algorithm.
Okay, so we're talking about data. So uh, if you know coding, you know scripting, it's good enough. Data structure as an additional skill, I again, it's my own experience. I feel will not help at a great deal, but any additional information which you have will always be helpful. But it's not that you will break the world or you'll do something extraordinary with data structure and algorithms knowledge or experience. Yeah, but if you can, as I've already pointed out, if you can know Python, that is that is where the industry is buzzing currently. That is where everything is currently happening.
Sir, I have one personal question. So, can you share a small roadmap to grow in this field?
See, and that I think that's a very good question, and I think it's very important for all of you. So one thing is very important. What I've seen is people have have now everyone talks about hacking. It's a buzzword. So people who are not in this industry, they think cybersecurity is nothing but only hacking, and it's a very wrong perspective to have. So I'll advise you first. You research that what are different domains in this industry, right? There are tons of things now. So you should first research and also think, and when you're researching, make sure like what is the skill required to be in that industry and survive for some time. So first you should research, have an understanding of different domains, and then based on your interest, pick up one domain. As I said, you cannot be a cybersecurity industry expert. You can be a domain expert. So you pick up that domain and then understand which skills are required to be a good professional in this domain. Excuse me. So once you decide that, then it's all hard work, talking to people, and also if you can afford, if you can get some paid training, or there are a lot of free trainings as well. Again, I'll say not burn your pocket immediately. People have seen people, lot of freshers going for certified ethical hacker certification. If you really ask me, I don't think it's worth the money you're spending. I'm not saying it's a bad certification to have, but make sure you first research. And if you think you want to be an offensive person, then you can probably go for CEH. There are other certifications as well which you can research. But first, understanding and then taking the right steps to move towards that. And just to bring in perspective, I'll say right now, if you're a fresher, please focus on cloud security. There are shortage of people. In fact, the complete cyber industry, there are shortage of people. But if you're confused where to go, cloud security can be a good option. And if you want to become a good cloud security professional, I already talked about it. Be a AWS or an Azure expert, and then you can build security over top of that. So that can be one roadmap.
Thank you, sir. And our audience are excited to ask some questions. So let's
Sure.
take some questions from audience.
Sure. See, here there cannot be a one particular methodology which you should follow. There is no one particular path. Ultimately, the when you're doing a bug hunting, your job is to find bug, right? So I cannot tell you one straight path which you can take. It's all depends on what you're trying to find, uh, and suppose we both are actually trying to find a bug. I may find and you may also find, but our methods may be completely different. But the but to be like to answer this question, there is no one straight method or path which you can which you can use to find a bug, because bugs are different. Just like for example, if you go to a doctor, right? So depending upon what symptoms you have, doctor will write a test. You cannot have a fixed test for everything. For everything, you will not go for a complete blood picture, right? So it depends what kind of bug you're trying to find, and based on that, the methods will vary.
Sir, we got another question here. So how we can get internship from LinkedIn as a fresher? Everyone demands the experience.
Uh, Sorry, so your question is like, how do you get internship
Yes, sir.
through LinkedIn, right?
Yes, sir.
See, yeah, I good that someone raised that question. Thank you for that. I think one very important aspect that we miss is we think that if we gain of technical experience, we are good. We can crack a job interview. Generally, that doesn't happen because there are for nowadays for fresher. I'll agree the market is very tough, especially in the cyber domain. For experienced people, the market is really booming now. The pace, the amount of jobs are really good. Uh, you, I'll say, if you don't want a better quality of life, you can stay. Nowadays, a lot of people plan to go out of India, but nowadays the money given to you, even in India, if you're really good at what you do in cyber industry, is very good. You don't even have to go outside India now. But that being said, if I have to keep the discussion focused only on freshers, it's important that you do the networking right. And even this is good for experienced people, where you need to make sure that you're networking with the right kind of people. You are in contact, and LinkedIn there plays a very vital role. Right? A lot of people just randomly ping someone, and then they ping someone, and what happens is they ask, I am interested in this job in your company. So suppose someone pings me, they say, I'm interested in this job, I saw it at Bank of America, so can you please refer me? Again, that method generally doesn't work. When you're sending someone, it may be to HR, or it may be to a hiring manager, or it may be to some other person in the company. Until unless you know him or her personally, that's fine. You can drop a message like that. If you don't know them, introduce yourself first. Say why, like, uh, you introduce yourself, what you have done, and then you come to like what you want. And even when you don't see any opportunities, you research for people who are regularly posting job opportunities. So try to network with them. Add that to their friend list. Try to ping them. Don't be over aggressive there because you people may feel offended. But on a regular basis, drop some messages to them, talk to them. It may be once a week or maybe once in 15 days, but don't do it daily. People will feel offended and ultimately they'll block you. So the best thing is to build that networking. And believe me, guys, I've seen people even with limited skills getting hired just because they had right type of networking. They knew people in a company who was hiring. So networking plays a very important part. I'm not talking about the network security or computer networking. I'm talking about the human connection here. So please remember, human connection plays a very important part. If you can impress someone, I've seen people hired and in my and they are my friends. They flopped in the interview, but they were hired because the hiring manager liked their attitude. They spend time with hiring manager, and few people are lucky in that aspect as well. Not with especially with COVID now, and a lot of people working from home and people not coming out. You don't get that physical connection anymore, but at least you can have that on LinkedIn. Keep that going on, and with ultimately you will be able to crack some interviews. Yeah, but overall, market is tough for freshers, but if you have the right networking and it's very clear what path you want to take, what roles you're looking at, ultimately you will be able to crack something.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we got a question from Jasdeep that being a script kiddie as a beginner for bug hunting is a good way to start.
Uh, See, what's your goal? You want to keep on doing bug hunting? Then that can be a good way to start. But if you want to ultimately work, get into an organization, script being a script kiddie won't help because in an organization nobody will allow you to run any scripts you want. Everything has to be approved because if you bring down something, then who will be accountable for that? Right? There is a business critical server, and I run some script on that, and I bring it down. So then I'll be held accountable. I may lose my job as well then. So if you want to be a script kiddie, if you want to continue being a bug hunter, you can start with a script kiddie. You can download some scripts, run it, and see how it works. But if you can build something on your own as well, try that. I know it's very difficult, it's not easy, but if you can, at least that's where Python comes handy. So you can tweak something. Even if you are not able to build something, you can at least be able to tweak few things and automate few things. So yeah, but just to keep my answer short and sweet, script PD, if you want to continue bug hunting would help. But if you want to get into an organization or you want to build a career over cyber or maybe even have your own startup, being a script kiddie won't help.
Yes, sir. We got another question from Tanvi that how crucial is getting numerous certifications?
Uh, I particularly am not a big fan of lot of certifications, but unfortunately in Indian market, certifications play a big role. You are given preference if you do have certifications. If you're not in India, uh, you're hired on skills generally, not every time, but generally. But in India, definitely certifications play a big role. If you say I'm this certified or that certified, uh, chances of getting selected or chances of getting your at least first step is to get your resume shortlisted. It does help. It definitely helps.
Okay, sir. We got another question how to choose the perfect certification for ourselves. What are the key points we need to consider before going for any certification?
Good question. There is no such thing as a perfect certification. Everything is based on something. So some certification will give you knowledge on a particular domain. Some certification will cover every aspect. Like for example, if you pick up certified ethical hacker certification, it will help you to learn Kali Linux. It will help you to crack some OS. It will help you to learn few common ports and protocols. So again, it's all offensive integrity is what you're learning there. If you go for a certification like a certified information system security professional, which comes from IC Square. It covers, it's like a security governance certification, which covers all the domains of cybersecurity, but not at depth. You will get a good overview about all the domains. So if you want to select a certification, again, go back to the discussion which we had on different career paths. So you should make sure that you pick up the career path first and then decide the certification. So first research again, I'll just repeat that point, research, then see what skills are required, then see what kind of certifications are related to that job skill and that domain, and then go for certifications. Don't just randomly pick something someone has done it, so I'll also do it. It's hot in market. Don't go there. If and be very choosy here, because ultimately for certifications, as far as I know, most of the well-known certifications are paid ones. So you're spending money there. So when you're spending money, make sure you're getting something worthy out of it. So 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 first research on that certification. The all the certifications will tell you what that like what's the what's the subject content there. So go through that, and then if it is appealing to you, then only go for it. Or even if you're going to a training institute for getting trained, you don't immediately pay money and then join them. Ask them to go for ask them to give you a demo, or maybe give you an overview about the certification, and then take your call. Because as a customer, you can demand that. A lot of people, the training institutes will actually tell you, no, we have limited batch. You come in, pay. Don't fall for that. That's just a gimmick. It's a trick they use so that you pay immediately. But you have every right to demand to give you maybe couple of sessions free, and then you decide, or uh, maybe at least get an overview about certification. So try to get that and then decide for a certification.
Yes, sir. So we got another question from Tanvi that does Recon play an important role while testing as many feel to ignore it? Should we Recon manually or automate the process?
See, Recon plays a very important part, whatever you're doing. If you're doing testing, if anything you start with Recon, whatever you're doing, because, and this is true even if you don't consider cyber industry, right? Suppose I'm going to a particular place, I'll first research about that place, right? I'll just not go blindly, right? And uh, even if I'm going as a tourist, I'll at least try to research on Google, like what are common places I can visit. What, even if some people are foodie, they research on food as well. So when you're doing research on this for cyber industry, it's very essential that you do a recon. And recon will build a roadmap for you on what needs to be done post recon. So once you understand what your goal should be very clear, your scope, basically we call it as a scope in technical terms, your scope should be clear. And then when you perform recon, it will give you the hints what needs to be done next. So recon is a very important, I'll not say first step. First step is scope, what you're trying to achieve. Second is recon, and it's a very important step. And then your next action comes in picture. So recon plays a very important part.
Sir, we got another questions in the chat box. Would you mind sharing your journey and preparation for ethical hacking certification?
Okay. Uh, I'll say for ethical hacking, it's very important that you have the right mindset first, right? Uh, like what generally people tend to do, especially when they are getting trained, they blindly follow what the trainer is telling them. I'm not saying don't blindly follow, but try to use your mind as well. See what you can do next before actually asking your trainer. Suppose you're doing reconnaissance. So we just talked about recon. So think what you can do and what you should not do. And then you can actually ask your trainer whether you're right or wrong. So, uh, so very important part to keep in mind is that instead of just blindly following, whether you're taking a physical trainer, you have gone through a video, uh, think what you should do first. Don't directly look for solutions. we have the tendency that we directly go to solutions. We see, okay, so this is there, so I'll just type that command. Suppose I'm working in Kali Linux, I'm maybe I want to do port scanning on a particular port. So instead of just blindly doing port scanning, understand why I want whether port scanning is really required, because most of the security tools will detect if you're doing a port scanning. So they may block you. So for that you understand whether port scanning is really required. What am I trying to achieve? So if you keep that in mind, I feel you will be in a good space to actually uh, like to continue your ethical hacking journey. So that mindset is important. A lot of people don't talk about that. They talk only about technical skills. You can still find it on internet. Whether you read a blog or you read or you go through a video, they'll tell about technical skills. So that's why I'm not focusing on that. But that mindset is very equally important, if not more. So keep that in mind.
Okay, sir. We got another question from Justin that books you would like to suggest for beginners web app pen testers.
See, uh, if you talk about, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are completely audible.
Okay, perfect. So, for pen testers, it's important that web application pen testers, uh, I'll come to books, but first understand that pen testing itself, web pen testing itself has become a big ocean now. There is code review, where you're actually reviewing the codes. There is like the normal, you run tools like just what you do for a networking pen testing. You run the tools and report. Then there is a lot of focus these days on API security as well, and we now have dedicated tools for API security. There are like tools from the tool called as Salt Security. There is No Name. There is Traceable. There are a lot of tools which are now dedicated on API security as well. So if you want to talk about or keep in or think about uh, like when you're starting a web app journey or a web app pen tester journey. So again, as I said, since this has become an ocean, you try to keep in mind which way you want to go. Again, it's no more like you will do everything. Either you will be doing code review or you will be working on API security. So so it's not that you will do both. Very few roles you may end up doing both, but uh, if you really want to go through a book, again there are different books which are focused on different things. So I have to be very specific here. So what I can do is probably I can post this session. I can if you can ping me, or you can ping me on LinkedIn, or you can if there is some particular channel which I can contact you through, I'll send you some books, and I'll actually uh, even try to give you some brief about what each one does, like what each one of them is focusing on. So I'll try to do that. So right now, I don't want to talk about any particular book, because the few books are focused on few specific things. So I can do that post this call.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Hope everyone enjoyed this session. So please fill up the feedback form which is provided in the chat box. So your journey was so inspiring for the students, and that's really amazing. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Pavitra. Thank you everyone for spending a Saturday morning, Sunday morning. Really
Please fill up the